It's not made up, it's the real McCoy. They're moving forward towards the German front lines, and when you're seeing those people starting to fall, they're actually the men that are being hit.
On that day, in this place, men from the 1st Newfoundland Regiment went over the top and into history. They were virtually wiped out. Now their descendants want to find out what they went through. As they march back in time to the first day of the Somme, the iconic film shot there finally surrenders its secrets. Together, they reveal what happened on that day. Z-Day, the first day of the Somme. It was supposed to be a great victory for Britain. The generals like cameraman Geoffrey Maylands document the inevitable German defeat. But instead, he recorded the wholesale slaughter of British and Allied troops. Maylands' shocking footage has never been shown as filmed. It was combined with fake sequences to create The Battle of the Somme, a propaganda film to rally a grieving nation.
The Battle of the Somme, when it first opened in August of 1916, was a huge hit. You would have to call it, if it's not crass, a box office smash. I've seen calculations that say that in the first 6 weeks of its release, there was something like 20 million cinema admissions in Great Britain. And that's at a time when the population of the whole country was 43 million.
The film's iconic images define the Great War. Yet the real story, hidden in the footage, has remained a mystery.
Somehow there are people below and in front of him, and we can look at the images.
Military historian Andy Robertshaw is an expert at teasing out new information from old sources. He studied the film for years and now thinks he can identify Maylands' real footage, give names to the heroes who fought that day, and find the places where they fell.
It's never been seen in the way that he filmed it. That narrative is lost. It's been used as wallpaper behind talking heads in documentaries, and yet the story is compelling. It's the story of men going into action and some of them not coming back. Well, I'm convinced and you're convinced that that's a fake.
Yeah, I think so.
What's the next? Can we watch that next bit?
Okay.
So this is the actual attack that everybody's seen repeatedly.
Yeah.
The more you look at that one, the officer has got a stick. Mm-hmm. And nothing on his back, but no one's got any anti-gas equipment, there are no haversacks, nothing.
Well, the thing that a veteran pointed out to us while he was still alive is also this is nothing like a real trench.
No,
this is kind of just an earth bank. It would give you no protection against anything.
The next bit is significant. It's that he's filming over the top of a sandbag.
Yep.
He's filming down.
This clip, showing soldiers crossing a field under fire, has been argued over for decades. Was it faked, or is it real?
Somebody falls, somebody falls. Do you see that again?
Yep. Well, I must say you're seeing far more detail in this than I've ever had.
We'll watch them again
before.
Here they go. They come in file. Now, these men jumped off, by the way, not as we imagine, side by side. They jump off in file, one behind the other, in Indian file, as they call it. And watch them slowly, and you'll see that they fall. He goes down, and I'm pretty certain they've been hit.
Yes. They're feeling sheltered by?
If authentic, it's probably the first footage of men falling in battle ever captured on film. But the only way Robertshaw can prove it is to go to France.
And I want to go there and say, look, is this correct? Is that the right place?
It's here on a 20-mile stretch of the Western Front that the Battle of the Somme was fought and captured on film. German and Allied forces were locked in a bitter stalemate. The French and British were desperate for victory. Close to where Maylands was filming on July the 1st, 1916, the 1st Newfoundland Regiment went into battle and were slaughtered. It was their first taste of fighting on European soil. And they suffered one of the greatest single-day losses of any unit during the war. At roll call the next day, only 68 of its 780 men would respond. Brothers Durham and Howard Coombs have a personal connection to the story. Their great-uncle and a cousin were both in that regiment and fought on that day. They've come to France to trace the fateful journey made by those men. Private James Howard, who'd already seen combat, and Private Linus Coombs, fresh from training. One of them lived and one of them died at the Somme.
I want to feel a connection with the past. I want to feel some thread of continuity connecting me with my relatives in the Royal Newfoundland Regiment 90 years ago.
The brothers travel back to July the 1st, 1916.
I wonder what was going through his head.
Taking the same train trip as their great-uncle, Private James Howard. Howard and Durham served as Canadian infantry officers in combat zones that included the former Yugoslavia and Afghanistan. Howard now teaches military history and commands a reserve infantry unit. Durham retired from the military and is now working on his law degree.
You know, this is the same trip, the exact same trip that James John Howard took, right? 90 years later.
But he wasn't sitting in seats like these. I mean, they were all cramped up in the cars.
They're not traveling in style. They are uncomfortable and they're not happy.
Hard, cold, wet, miserable, hungry. Just let's get there.
And just let's get there and let's get on with our job.
All right.
Yeah.
For many soldiers, the journey to the killing fields of France started thousands of miles away, because when Britain went to war, so did her empire. Back then, Newfoundland was a self-governing dominion of Britain. At the archives in St. John's, Howard Coombs tracks down his relatives' service records.
James Howard is service number 560, and I'm at service number 559. Oh, here we go. James John Howard, from his file, it really doesn't give you an in-depth look at his background. We can tell from where he lived in the city that they're a reasonably well-to-do family. His father had a trade. His father was a sea captain. His mother stayed at home. He was listed as a printer, which is clerical in nature. You have to be educated to be a printer. And being any young man, he probably took to army life very well, because you don't live at home anymore. You're not with your parents, and you're on your own. Let's take a look at Linus Coombs. Linus Coombs is a small man, like many of the other men in the Newfoundland Regiment. Chest fully expanded, 39 inches, for example, 5'7", 130-odd pounds. Amazing when you think that these men were carrying 70 pounds of equipment on the field of battle. He's older than most. He's 25. And we have some photos of him which show him in his uniform, and they're very proud photos. I call them hero shots, because they're with his rifle, and they're obviously his equipment, and they're obviously shots posed to come back to Newfoundland for his family. And they're great shots. You see the same ones today with kids when they come out of training.
According to the regimental diary, on March the 22nd, 1916, the Newfoundlanders arrived on the Western Front. The Battle of the Somme was just over 3 months away. The end of the line for tens of thousands of soldiers was Pont-Rémy Station. Among them, Privates James Howard and later, Linus Coombs.
This is where they start their journey, their adventure on the Western Front. They get off here, they travel up that road, and they cross the River Somme. They have a ride. They're on the Western Front, 90 years ago today.
Moving towards their destiny, the Newfoundland Regiment spent the spring and early summer of 1916 alternating between the front lines at Beaumont Hamel and their rest area at Louvencourt, marching through villages like Mailly-Meillet.
Well, it's incredible.
For me, it's a journey into the past to get to know my ancestors more, and to really pay my respects at one of the greatest battles the Royal Newfoundland Regiment has fought in.
Try to visualize this in 1916. You got gigantic armies locked in battle, throes of battle on both sides of this river. All over this area, there's millions of men of all nations fighting to the death. And today it's so peaceful.
A team of British investigators is getting closer to the battlefield. They're looking for the truth about a film shot on the first day of the Somme, and they're about to have a breakthrough.
And you look at the size of those shells bursting on the target, that's the...
Andy Robertshaw has been joined in France by Alistair Fraser and Steve Roberts, fellow Great War investigators. They're trying to track cameraman Geoffrey Malin's whereabouts in the build-up to the Battle of the Somme by precisely locating the events he filmed. They're using a technique called match framing, matching Malin's footage with new footage shot at the same locations. If they succeed, they'll use the same technique to try and pinpoint the site of the film's controversial combat footage. Their first target is a scene filmed 3 days before the battle.
The one I'm really very keen on, and I did a bit of driving around to try and find it, is this sequence of General Delisle giving that speech that we've got the text of to the Lancashire Fusiliers. And I've got it, I think, to being behind the village of Malé Malé.
Well, the man is in the right place at the right time. Yeah. And I would say, deducing from the badges alone, and the other clues in the film, that we would have a good match.
And I'll take you there and see if you agree with me, but I think it makes sense. I'm really trying to work out what the relationship is between the film and the terrain. Can I link those together? Can I work out where people were?
On the day before the battle, General Delisle, a divisional commander, delivered a speech intended to inspire. He's quoted as saying, "We are now taking part in the greatest battle in which British troops have ever fought. To you have been set the most difficult task, that of breaking the hardest part of the enemy's shell. I expect you to break that shell." Using information from wartime maps, Robertshaw searches for the precise location of the speech.
So we've got a really nice sequence here, which is just a couple of days before the battle began. I mean, they're probably breaking the news there's going to be a few days still to go because the battle's been set back. And he's also then explaining what they're going to be doing and how important it is. This is the big push.
Of course, you've got to also remember that they're doing this with the sound of the guns in the background.
Absolutely.
The bombardment's been going for several days.
And didn't we say that there's some gun positions just down here and one over there as well?
They will be in amongst the gun positions, yes, some of the heavier stuff.
Right. Is there any features on that bank beyond the obvious stuff? There seems to be a ramp in here. Malins is filming basically just a quarter on, isn't he?
Yeah.
Towards him, towards there. And we've got it. I mean, I think that's pretty... There's obviously, this lot here's got more vegetation on than it did in 1916.
The team is satisfied. They have their first match. They move on to a sequence filmed the morning of the battle. In the early hours of July the 1st, 1916, soldiers of the Lancashire Fusiliers were sent through a tunnel to a sunken lane right in the middle of no man's land. This scene was filmed only 60 minutes before they got the signal to go over the top. For many, this would be their last hour alive.
So where we are now is at the very end of this lane. In fact, that's the still from Malins' film. It says it's about 6:20, which makes sense. He then says that...
Using Malin's memoirs as a guide, the team think they found where he stood on the sunken lane.
He then says, "I filmed the waiting Fusiliers. Some of them looked happy and gay, others sat with stern, set faces, realising the great task in front of them."
Well, you can see quite clearly in the film that some of the men are pretty frightened.
Yeah.
Others, particularly the trench mortar men, are not quite so put out by it because they're not actually going over the top in about three-quarters of an hour's
Absolutely.
time.
I mean, you've also got the fact some of these men are Gallipoli veterans.
Yes.
They know what to expect when they suddenly appear over the top of that ridge. They know what's coming.
Just sit there.
Yeah.
Just sit down. Just up there.
Here.
That'll do. Put your left hand a bit more on your knee. Okay. That's not bad at all. I think he was here. I mean, either way, give or take a few yards. That's pretty good. That's excellent. Good.
They have their second match. They know the technique works because the terrain of this area hasn't changed. But will they be able to find the location of what could be the world's first combat footage? Following in the footsteps of their relatives who fought at the Battle of the Somme, the Coombs brothers are in France, returning to the spring of 1916 and preparing for war. Newfoundland was Britain's oldest territory and was fiercely loyal to the Crown. The young men of the Rock dropped out of school and quit their jobs to be part of this great adventure, forming the 1st Newfoundland Regiment. They were sent to Turkey and fought in the Gallipoli campaign and at Soulva Bay before moving to France at the Western Front. After hot climbs, the cold French spring required warmer uniforms.
Well, you know, it's pretty rough wool on the inside. It's not bad, but considering they're 90 years old, they're in pretty good shape. And pretty good fit for you, too. This button fly is something else. This is a heck of a set of boots. I've never seen hobnails like this on a pair of boots before. You can see that actually being pretty hard on your knees and joints going in hard-packed roads, but I guess most of the roads around here at the time weren't paved. You notice how they've got the laces are straight across? That's if you had a foot injury, you could just cut it through and the eyelets would pop open.
So now you just tuck it up under and flip it around 2 or 3 times. Just get rid of most of the excess. Now, I'm no sergeant major, but I would say that's a pretty darn good job for a first timer.
Good jacket, sir.
Another wool item of wool
Another cup of tea with that.
I was looking at that today. That's very similar to the webbing I was first issued when I joined the military. Same material, different pattern, but it's all the same principles. It's all designed so you can get by for at least 24 hours by what you're carrying on your body.
All right, soldier, let's take a look at your equipment here. Pretty shoddy, I must say. Let me see, helmet. You have your gas mask. You got your pouches, empty of course. You go see the CQ, get some ammunition for that. Good putties. Of course, your boots well oiled. You have your gas mask hood, canteen full, your little cooking stove. I feel your rations. I see your bayonet. Looks like you're good to go, soldier. Not too shoddy.
Private James Howard joined the newly formed Newfoundland Regiment with his friends at the outbreak of the war in 1914. He trained with them and fought with them, initiated into combat at Gallipoli. Private Linus Coombs was a new boy. He came to France in April of 1916, joining an already battle-hardened regiment. But 2 months would have been enough for a man like Linus to make friends. His daughter, Marjorie Ball, lives in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia.
Howard.
Margaret, hi.
How are you? So good to see you. I remember a lot of things about him when I was growing up. Everybody loved him, all our friends. Well, we're having a party tomorrow night, or, you know, if you all come. Oh, he'd stay up till everybody was gone, you know. He just loved people.
What kind of songs would he sing?
Carry me back to dear old Blighty. Put me on the train for Leicester Square. Take me over there, drop me anywhere. Liverpool, Leeds, or Manchester, well, I don't care. Hi-dee-diddly-di-dee, carry me back to Blighty. Blighty is the place for me.
That man's got clearly a 29th div triangle
Yes,
there.
you can certainly see that. That's one of the bits of evidence we use. This is another shot that is claimed as a fake. And just as a filmmaking point of view, I have always wondered why, if you were going to stage a trench rescue for a film, why not give it a happy ending?
Yes.
And it's a small detail. One of the things that makes me believe in this scene is precisely the fact that the caption tells you the guy died.
Absolutely.
Andy Robertshaw and Roger Smither are trying to identify the anonymous hero in one of the most iconic images of the Great War.
The men who served were all individuals like you and I, and some of them came home to their families. Sadly, some of them didn't. And it would be wonderful if we could take a sequence of film and say that is a certain person, to make it about individual people rather than a mass army.
For years, the Imperial War Museum identified this man as Regimental Sergeant Major Wood, based on a claim by his family.
If the man in the photograph is RSM Woods, which is argued, no.
We've given up on Woods because we actually printed the name of Woods at a time when he was virtually the only claim we'd had. We've now had, in addition, over 50 alternative claims.
Right.
And our stance now is that we will not put a name to this because we are waiting for some clear, impartial third-party evidence.
We've got a possible candidate, and we're hoping to try and get a final identification, at least for this man here.
I'll be very interested to see the results of that.
We'll see what happens.
Steve Roberts is on the case. He's travelled to Stoke-on-Trent to meet Maurice Holland, a man who has publicly claimed for years that the soldier in the footage is his father, William.
The information that you've got about your father, it comes from your family members seeing the film and
A family member seeing it, other family members later seeing the repeat of it, and my mother making a positive identification.
Okay.
Like we said, nobody's going to know my father like
well, that's
wife.
right, yeah, that's right.
You know, that's it, that clinches it. We had a wall clock, and in the wall clock she kept these, along with his medals.
Okay. Nice and safe. Oh, and the photograph as well.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. Okay. So really, you've over the years you've grown up with this image of your father, as a hero here.
No, he wasn't an hero. He was my dad. There's a difference.
Yeah.
All dads are heroes.
Have you got any other photographs of your father?
Well, only the ones that are in here.
Well, the ones in the album. What's the heroism at the seaside bit there as well?
There's a young woman who was in trouble in the water out in the bay there.
Yeah.
And he spots her, and being a strong swimmer, dropped his shoes and his jacket off and took off from the pier and went out and brought her in.
That was a very interesting meeting. Mr. Holland is a very, very useful gentleman. He's got some really good information which might help us to pinpoint whether or not the man in that photograph is who he claims he is, William Holland, his father.
On April the 13th, 1916, the Newfoundland Regiment left Louvencourt and marched to the third line trenches near Beaumont Hamel. Marching long distances was a way to move troops and keep them fit at the same time.
Quick march.
They just didn't do a mile and stop. No, they did 5, 10, 15, 20 miles. An average of 20 minutes per mile with all their equipment. Right. The whole point was you had to be able to displace yourself and move to another location fairly quickly. We used to do this in the old Canadian Airborne Regiment on a regular basis, almost every day.
How do you enjoy the boots?
They suck. You can feel every time you hit the tarmac, you can feel the vibration right through your whole body.
Really?
Yep. Helmet's lighter than contemporary helmets. If you hit me, I'll be coming at you so fast.
Bonjour.
Across the channel, Professor Alf Linney is one of the world's leading facial recognition experts. Scotland Yard calls him in to identify alleged criminals and terrorists from video surveillance footage. Today, he's trying to name a hero. It's the first time he's used this technique on footage from so long ago.
This is an album from the Holland family showing William Holland.
Right.
And it's claimed that this is the young soldier, as he then was, who brought the wounded man back in again on the 1st of July 1916 on his shoulder, and that's a really important image that a lot of people have seen.
Okay, let's see if we can look at these pictures for comparison. You can see the ear actually has about the same degree of protrusion as this ear, and you can't see any obvious differences between the structures of these two ears. Indeed, the inner helix appears here and looks similar in form to the inner helix there. The eyebrows and the brow itself are actually curved downwards quite strongly. That's obviously not found in everybody, so that's a characteristic of this particular individual, and it's found in both pictures. The corner of the mouth points downwards where it joins the lower lip, and it does this on both men. And now I'm going to try and scale the images so they're to the same scale. And now the distance I'm now using basically is the distance between the base of the nose where it contacts the face, where it connects to the face. But all of these points, say the eyes and the mouth, are all approximately in the same plane, so that when you tilt them, the proportionate distances between them doesn't change. So in terms of what we call morphology, that's to say the shape of the features, we haven't found anything that's that would rule this man out yet. If you saw these two men, I'm sure, across the street, you may not be able to distinguish between them. I think you can see why the family would believe that this is him. And of course there's nothing...
The team is getting closer to putting a name to a famous face. But will William Holland's war records put him in the right place at the right time? The Coombs brothers are retracing the path of their ancestors to one of the bloodiest battles in history. On April the 13th, 1916, the Battle of the Somme was only 2.5 months away. The Newfoundland Regiment passed through this village on their way to the front lines. The local bed and breakfast was a field hospital.
These are all the regiments that came through Mali. Oh, and ça ici.
Ah, celui-ci, ah ben ils sont
Wow,
là,
look at that. There's a Newfoundland Regiment cap badge right there.
I'm going to show on my relative's hat badge.
Private James Howard's cap badge has been passed down through the generations. For Durham Coombs, it's a family treasure that connects him to the past.
You know, you're issued badges every day in the military, but the badges I'm putting on this uniform is close to 100 years old.
The badges that you're putting on this uniform marched through here 90 years ago.
Like they came to France, went back to Newfoundland, now they're back in France.
To actually be in France must have been fascinating for them. And for Linus, it was still probably the great adventure. But you know, James had already gone through Suva Bay. He probably had a pretty good idea of the reality of war by this time.
I would like to say that there's excitement, you know, a little bit of apprehension maybe about what's upcoming. But, you know, I sort of think in reality that there's fear.
The separation from home. The anxieties. The noise, the confusion.
So there you go. What do you think? It's done. A little bit rough, but I think James would have been okay with it. Wow, that's neat. Cheers.
Cheers. To the regiment. Good day tomorrow.
To a good day tomorrow.
Weeks of work have paid off for the team back in Britain. Steve Roberts has managed to get hold of the military records of William Holland, the man they believe is the anonymous hero filmed on the first day of the Somme.
I've now got in front of me a copy of the service record for the gentleman known as William Holland. And what I'm now going to try and do is have a look and see whether or not we can say for certain whether William Holland was in France at the time that we believe this photograph was taken. We know that William Holland is Stoke-on-Trent. Well, this gentleman is from Stoke-on-Trent, that's fine. And he signs on to the North Midland Division Field Company Royal Engineers. According to this paperwork in front of me now, he serves from the 25th of May 1915 right the way through until the 3rd of February 1917 on home service. Now, according to this, he doesn't appear to travel to France until the 3rd of February 1917. And that's 6 or 7 months after the filming is alleged to have been taken. It pains me to say it, but I can't see anything in the documentation that would lead me to think anything other than the fact that William Holland was not in France. Disappointed, very disappointed. It would have been, well, it would have been nice to have gone back to Maurice Holland and said, yep, 100%, that's your father. We're not in a position to do that.
What we've then got here is King Street, Esau's.
Robertshaw persists. There are other soldiers in the film whose faces need names.
It's a high feature. From just there across the front of King Street.
A trench map is used to identify the unit featured in another sequence in the film.
Now look, it says King Street there. Yep. Yeah, and firing line there. In fact, that...
They were the Lancashire Fusiliers. It's the clue he needs to identify the officer in charge.
Later on. But again, the officer's got no rifle. He's wearing other ranks' equipment. Yeah. He's got a pistol, that's why. Look, he's got his pistol fastened on his webbing. Yeah. What we've got here is a badge at the back of his neck. That's a C Company flash. Now that probably makes him. There only is one second lieutenant in the company, and that's W.R.B. Caseby of C Company. Right. That is somebody by name. We're just trying to get a picture of him from another context to definitely confirm who it is. Right.
On June the 12th, 1916, the Newfoundland Regiment was engaged in tactical exercises, including preparations for gas warfare.
We did a lot of training now when we went out for rest. Going through a gas-filled chamber with our gas mask on, after a half hour of it, you'd sell your soul for a breath of fresh air.
Interesting, these First World War trenches.
I know, this is so neat, I must say. Well, both Howard and I have conducted gas training. It's with a simulant called tear gas. It makes your nose run, your eyes run. Any orifice on your body that produces any type of moisture burns. And it is quite unpleasant, but it teaches the soldier and the officer how to get on the mask, how to get on the suit, because if your suit's not fully closed, that you'll get a burning sensation on that area.
You can hear us, they're hot, they're hard to communicate in. It'd be difficult to pass orders back and forth and do things and coordinate activities in trenches. I am miserable. This sucks. Let's take this out, see how it works. What do you think about it? Well, it's pretty hard to see through a rifle case. It really is a difficult time.
Whoa. No, that's an experience, all right. Well, I think we'll put those away because I'm not too keen to do that again.
No amount of training could prepare Britain and her allies for the hell they walked into on the Somme. The team's research suggests this man is a Lieutenant William Caseby. They're going to test their theory using family photos and facial recognition analysis. Caseby's great-nephew Richard has also been tracked down. He's the managing editor of the Sunday Times. Caseby was a Scottish architect. In 1916, he was attached to C Company of the Lancashire Fusiliers as a second lieutenant. On July the 1st, he led his men over the top, then regrouped and led a second attack. Most were mowed down within yards of the sunken lane. Caseby was one of the few who survived. He was awarded the Military Cross. In April 1917, he was killed by a shell.
He was my greatest pal and the most liked man in the battalion. His men and brother officers were more upset hearing of his death than of any other casualty. He was the bravest and most efficient officer we had, and he was liked by everyone. I myself was with him just before his death and walked up to the line with him. He was very cheery, always cheerful. It's quite a moving letter.
Isn't it? As it works.
But was this doomed hero of the Somme caught on film only days before the attack?
The sort of first things you can observe is there are some similarities immediately.
A photograph of a young Lieutenant Caseby, taken early in his career, is the basis for facial recognition analysis.
Proportionate size of the nose seems to be about right, and the line of the jaw is very similar. And you can see there that this is passing directly under this man's nose, and also appears to pass under this man's nose within what one can say from the quality of the image. And then we'll look at the chin. And the chin does appear to be out, so we've got a problem there. Quite a bit of a difference in the length of the face. Now,
The team hopes a second photograph of Lieutenant Caseby, taken from a different angle, may result in a positive match.
but it looks again as if we've got that same issue
with the chin.
The chin is simply not large enough. So I would say that in all probability this is not your relative.
Wow.
Really? All right.
We have a lot to somehow account for. It does present a problem there.
It's disappointing in some ways, but particularly for you. It's disappointing for us. But
I often disappoint lots of people.
But the thing is, that based on the documentary evidence, everything said it should be him. But what you've just proved is it isn't him, therefore it has to be someone else, which is a logical thing to say.
Yes.
And the question is now, I mean, from your point of view, disappointment, from our point of view, then who is it?
Personally, I'm gutted. I mean, I was under a distinct impression from everything that was in the documentary evidence that said that was Second Lieutenant Caseby.
Well, although it was personally quite disappointing not to have the match made, what it does tell you is that you can sort of reach down over the years and actually try and touch history, as I know it has done for other families who've taken part in the project. But maybe one day the chaps investigating this, they may well turn him up on that film. I hope they do.
Saturday, June the 24th, 1916. Z-Day was 1 week away. It was a rest day for the Newfoundland Regiment. In his memoirs, Private Leopold Maury described cooking dinner in a helmet.
It's kind of rusty, but I think we cleaned it up the best we could. The only reason I can think Maury would put bacon in with his cabbage is because there's no salt beef available in France.
You know what? I think that it's a good hypothesis.
He wouldn't fry it. He would have boiled it like salt. Well, because he's talking about boiling cabbage and bacon. This is just like army life, because I joined the army because I wanted to get out of Newfoundland and travel, and I saw every place where every unimaginable thing could happen to a person. And there was no 5-star hotels involved. Gosh darn it. Yeah. Get a big piece of bacon.
There you go, with nice hangings of white fat.
Okay. Bottoms up.
Tastes like soggy bacon in a steel helmet.
There are different ways of getting at the everyday lives of soldiers in the trenches. And for the first time ever, a forensic lip reader will examine the film. The team hopes she'll give voice to those long dead. Deaf since childhood, she is used by police forces around the world to interpret surveillance video, often working on extremely sensitive cases.
Well, the film's silent. And originally it had music with it, and nobody was really bothering, I don't think, about what was being said. But in some sequences, we've got people speaking. You know that they're speaking. Sometimes it's counting, sometimes it's conversation. And because they knew there was no microphone, they're just talking to each other.
The quality of film that was shot before the Second World War can be quite jerky.
Yes.
Whereas, of course, modern filming, it flows very smoothly. So I just want some more.
That's the one.
Get them up a bit.
Get them up a bit. Oh, because he's...
I think he's talking to the boxes.
Yes, he is, isn't he?
He wants the boxes up.
Yeah, because he's got the crowbar, hasn't he, to get the lids off.
He said, get them up a bit. Come on then. Check them.
Well, they are. I mean, they're checking down that line,
doing.
aren't they? They are, aren't they? That's good. The thing is that these men, they've been dead for years, these people, and we've got him actually speaking. Shall we move on then? Because the next one is a bit further in. 2 seconds. Here, these. In the back. The fat man and the short man.
You go, you go. You go.
Good.
You. And then he said to him, yes, that's it, got them all. He said that one to the man beside him, and then to the people in front, he said, go on, go on.
Fantastic. Okay, and then that one, go on, yes? Which we've got, that's great. And then the next one then is this one.
Get them.
Get them.
And then we'll go.
Could it be fix them? F-I-X?
Fix them, yeah, fix. Yeah. So we've got that down as an alternative.
Fix
and
them.
then he says to him, a second later, as he turns around, and then we'll go.
And then we'll go. That's incredible. Let's try this one at 26:20. Leg injury.
Jesus, 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 Jesus.
Yes.
Swears. And then Sarge, he needs carrying.
He needs carrying.
He needs carrying.
Anything here?
You'll just go back a few seconds. I hope we're not in the wrong place, because next time I'm just going to something and get out. He's not got the speech of a highly educated person. It's a bit like the speech what we nowadays would call the, hey, what, you know,
well,
I'm bothered.
He's a Lancashire man.
Ah.
He's from Lancashire.
Hope we're not in the wrong place, because next time I'm going to and get out. Can you see that now?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
I find that's incredible. I mean, I wonder if he survived that day, because sadly they were in the right place, and many of them die in the next hour or so.
In the days leading up to the Battle of the Somme, soldiers' souls, as well as their bodies, were being prepared for what lay ahead. It was an open secret that they would soon be ordered into battle. The Roman Catholics from the Newfoundland Regiment took communion at this church in the village of Louvencourt on June the 28th, 1916, just 3 days before the attack. Private Leopold Maury recorded the service in his memoirs.
There were over 300 of us in the churchyard. There was quite a number of graves of young Frenchmen from 18 to 21 killed in August 1914. Women and girls cried quite openly in the church. I expect we reminded them of their own sons and brothers and husbands and loved ones who had been killed.
Private James Howard and Private Linus Coombs were also Catholics, more than likely at the service.
There was 300 RCs, they were all here together that day, but Linus had just joined the regiment several months previously, so he would have been one of the new guys.
That's right.
And James would have been one of the old guys, so that's a hard mix. They would probably might not have even talked to each other, because Linus hadn't seen action, hadn't seen combat, unlike all the other soldiers of the regiment. But they're here together that day.
Probably should just take a moment.
Yeah.
On the eve of the battle, the soldiers of the Newfoundland Regiment started to move towards the front lines with other British and Allied troops. The plan for Z-Day was a staggered mass attack in which the Newfoundlanders would be the last to go over the top.
You're going for the guys who had been in Silva Bay and Gallipoli. They knew what they had a taste of what was going to happen, so they might have had an understanding of what was going to occur the next day. For the new soldiers, the draft that arrived in April, including Linus, it would have been something new, probably didn't know enough to be scared yet.
Right.
And for the draft that arrived that night, I'd have to say those guys were just confused. They're probably anxious, because now they're thrown into with the 1st Newfoundland Regiment.
The brothers reached their destination, Close to the front lines at Beaumont Hamel were Linus Coombs and James Howard and the rest of the Newfoundland Regiment went into battle on July the 1st, 1916.
A little bit of a chill in the air tonight.
Hopefully we'll be able to keep ourselves warm in here. And then we had to make a thick enough bed to put some separation between us and that floor.
You know, Howard, I think this is quite a pivotal moment for me. I'm here lying here with James's hat badge. I'm part of his original kit. And I can't help to think, but you know, he was one of 25 men somewhere in the barn, bunked down, you know, thinking about the next few days, you know, the fear, you know, all this with the constant bombardment and the threat of being wounded or killed just around the corner. I mean, you know, he was doing this 90 years ago, and just find that so amazing.
And being an only child, he's probably thinking of his mom and dad, too. All right, here, I'm gonna blow these things out, and we get some sleep.
On July the 1st, 1916, 13 divisions of soldiers, 100,000 men, waited for the signal to attack. At precisely 7:20 in the morning, the battle began with the detonation of a huge underground mine beneath the German front lines. This is the next location that Andy Robertshaw is trying to match frame.
Possibly a mine charge sitting on...
If he can find the position the cameraman Geoffrey Malins was filming from, he'll use it to work out where the famous combat footage was shot. Philip Robinson, a former Royal Engineer, is an expert on underground warfare.
Well, this group of trees up here, that's the Hawthorne mine. The crater lies just beyond, inside the trees.
So let's have a look at the film now, and then we'll just see what we've got. When it goes up, it's silent, it's black and white, it doesn't look very dramatic. I mean, how far up in the air does all that stuff go?
Probably about 600 or 700 feet, but also dispersing quite widely. The idea was to blow up a huge amount of soil and create high crater rims, which it was intended should be captured by the second Fusiliers.
Yes.
It would have allowed you to look down into the German trenches on either side and bring fire into them.
It goes badly because the Germans respond so quickly rather than anything else.
Amazing speed. German soldiers from slightly further back moved in immediately.
In 1916, this nondescript hill was considered worth dying for.
Well, I suppose the thing is that if you're a German soldier, your visibility from here is fantastic, isn't it?
Well, here, and we'll see, and in that direction, I mean, this has the most fantastic field of fire. I mean, so you can see why they wanted to take this position out. No, it's a very, very significant position, and as such, of course, it made whatever else you did with it, it made sense to destroy it from underground.
Destroy it and then seize it, which is the other thing, of course.
Well, ideally. Anyway, here we are. Pretty big crater.
It's an enormous crater, isn't it?
220 feet, if I remember rightly, across it. And the second crater overlaps it.
Yeah.
Down here.
So it blew out basically that whole of that central ridge as well.
That's right.
How much explosives?
40,000 pounds. If this was roughly 40 feet depth crater and the mine was 70 feet, so the mine was originally 30 feet below. So obviously a mass of spoil falls back in on the mine chamber.
Yes, and then crushes the whole thing.
Yes.
Hang on.
Got there.
That's a piece of skull, I think.
Looks like a skull. Yes.
Well,
the rest is around somewhere in the earth.
Absolutely. There are some holes over there. I think we ought to give it a decent burial.
Well, I got a knife on here. You can scrape a hole here if you like.
Anyway, you like. Is it okay? Bit of a strange burial, but at least it's buried, isn't it?
Too sentimental.
It just seems a shame to leave, you know, someone's remains on the surface, isn't it? It's an enormous war grave, really, isn't it? If we're thinking about where Malins was, because we saw from the car the explosion up here, he was somewhere back in that lot, and I'm just looking, there are terraces. I wonder if he's on that Jacob.
Standing on the lip of the Hawthorne crater, Robertshaw now has a clear understanding of where cameraman Geoffrey Malins was working on the morning of the attack. On this small section of the front, he filmed the waiting troops in the sunken lane, the Hawthorne mine explosion, and what may be the first combat footage ever recorded. Malins wrote that after the mine exploded, he swung his camera round and filmed the attack.
What we thought was, if we had the trenches marked out with tape, we can then move around on that terrain and try and find it, and if needs be...
If Robertshaw can line up the precise location of the camera when the mine went off, he'll know where Malins filmed the combat scene and be able to prove that it was real.
So what you want from us is this trench up here,
please,
and some bits of this one around here.
Yeah, basically that corner.
If we set up here and then pick up the junction. Yeah. What specifically we're trying to do is to translate the positions of the trenches as shown on the historic trench maps into precise locations on the ground. And then once we've found those precise locations, we'll mark them with tape. And what that means is Andy doesn't have to walk up and down with the photograph in his hand trying to judge exactly where he thinks it was taken from. It's a case of walking along the tape until you find a point that matches. Yep, got that, Dave, thank you.
I'll go on up the Beaumont Road, get one up the top there.
Yeah, okay, Dave, thanks.
Got that, Dave, thank you.
Should we see if the historic map fits under? Alright. A moment of truth. And that's looking quite good.
With the survey points established, the team now knows exactly how the old trench maps fit into the modern topography. They can now mark out the actual trenches.
If you could walk along the face of the slope there, at the base of the slope for 4 meters, you're going to be very close.
I've heard.
If you look at where the line of the sandbagging for Jacob's Ladder
goes
cuts
down
the far horizon where the crater now is.
Correct.
And you come down into here.
Yeah.
It's basically there.
He's picked it quite carefully, hasn't he? Yeah. To make sure he's safe, which is sensible. Yeah. And you try framing on that now onto the crater and see if it makes sense, and then show the others. Because what we're going to do then, that's our shot. Yeah. We need some photographs of it.
So what we're basically saying, he's here, 20 past 7 in the morning, he films the crater go.
Yeah.
At some point later in the morning, he's then in the same position, he pans to his right.
Try it.
He's then going to pick up figures going from right to left across there, is live footage. It's not made up, it's the real McCoy. It's people going across and they're moving forward towards the German front lines, and when you're seeing those people starting to fall, they're actually the men that are being hit.
Yes.
Whether they're being killed or wounded, but they're falling and they're being hit.
And in there's that odd edit that comes in, and I think it's because too many men die or get hit, that they edit the sequence out and then pick it up later on when there are more people moving through. And what I'm intrigued
So in the
know,
very moment you get the start of combat photography, you get the start of combat photography censorship.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's a propaganda film. You don't want to have too many people going, down and laying still.
Can you move up to the edge of the ploughed field, please? Okay, lads, a single file, a loping run, go.
They're about the right size as well that way.
We've just all been killed, which is a slightly spooky sensation, isn't it?
Malins was somewhere just about here on the 1st of July. And it's a culmination really of all the research and lots of assistance that means that I can say, that's it, we've done it. And from my point of view, it's great.
The Newfoundland Regiment's role was to be the third wave of infantry to attack. The men were to leapfrog over the victorious troops ahead and capture the remaining German trench. The Coombs brothers are at Beaumont Hamel, where their relatives Private James Howard and Private Linus Coombs met two very different fates on July the 1st, 1916.
Good morning, gentlemen. Howard Coombs. This is my brother,
Vic.
Durham.
Hi, Durham.
Nice to meet you.
Norbert, I'm a German.
Durham. Hi, how are you?
We made arrangements with...
With the help of battlefield guides Vic Pioch and Norbert Kruger, they hope to understand why the attack went so terribly wrong.
Both perspectives. Both. We were thinking perhaps we could split up and then compare notes afterwards.
Seems a good plan.
I think so.
Yes. Can I...
Okay, follow.
Okay, Durham. Great, Vic.
In every trench you could find deep dugouts with 6 meters of earth, and the British artillery didn't succeed in destroying these dugouts. That means the regiment which was here had during the 1st of July only 94 dead and nearly 100 wounded. That means 200 from 3,000. In comparison with the Canadians or the Newfoundlanders, it was only a small part.
Now this would be a communication trench, like I read about trenches called Tipperary Avenue, St. John's Road. Are we in any of those right now?
Yes, we're going to enter just on the inside of the park. We're going to enter St. John's Road, obviously named in memory of the Newfoundland lads here. How it worked actually was that whichever unit was in the line, they sort of picked an area, something that reminded them of home actually.
Right.
So very eloquent really in terms of the Newfoundland regiment.
Norbert, can you see the British objective, the village of Beaumont Hamel, from around here?
Yes, it's a little bit difficult. You can see at the left a white house,
right,
and there is the tower of the church. You see only the upper part of the tower.
Because that was the objective. The Newfoundland regiment, my relatives, were trying to achieve on the 1st of July.
You see, it is a long distance from the starting point to the village when machine guns are firing.
Here we are. This is the sharp end. This is the front line system. British lines.
At this 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning, nearly the whole British army was convinced that they will win the war at that day.
The Newfoundlanders are very keen to support this attack. It's their first taste in action here on the Western Front. They're keen to show what they can do as men, keen to show what they can do as Newfoundlanders. If they've been ordered forward, they must be needed. They don't want to let anyone down, these men. So they start. Initially, plan A was to play it by the book, which was to work their way up through the communication trenches. But almost 9 o'clock in the morning now, an hour and a half after this battle has started, the trenches are full, clogged of men who have gone to ground, men who have been wounded. It's great confusion in the trenches. With that enthusiasm in mind that these men have, they actually leave the safety of the trenches to join the attack at the earliest possible moment. It's one of the things that leads, sadly, to their undoing, because the minute they leave the safety of the trenches, they are the only things moving basically on no man's land. They make an unmissable target. So they start to fall before they even reach the frontline position. And having left this position, they're into no man's land properly, and then really into the teeth of hell.
So like 90 years ago today, James and Linus, if they made it this far, would be in this trench system waiting to go over the top?
Absolutely, yes. Within feet of where we're stood now.
Wow.
Where would James be about right now?
Coming through the trenches, it's hard to say, but we know from accounts that directly to our front, the copse of trees, that's the limit of the Newfoundland advance on this side. So all we can determine is James went somewhere through here. Unfortunately, James was designated missing in action on 1st July, and later that year, towards the end of 1916, I believe somewhere around September to November timeframe, the Colonial Office sent Patrick and Joanna a letter stating that he's now officially not MIA, missing in action, but killed in action.
Now, Linus, we don't have a clue.
No.
Linus Coombs could have been anywhere in this area. He was shot in the right hip, in his nerve. He fell down, and he was somehow pulled back. We know he was in a field hospital on the 2nd of July,
right.
7th General Field Hospital. And we do know in the family that he eventually has to have an amputated because it becomes even progressively worse.
It's funny, I remember when I was really, really young, I went with Mom to visit them once, and she said, this guy who's in the war, don't ask him about his leg. I said, okay, I won't. So she leaves the room, I think it was get some tea and biscuits for herself and for Linus, and I turn and said, "How did you lose your leg?" And he cackles and he goes, "Son, a tank ran over it." So I thought this for years, and it wasn't actually until about a year ago that I figured out that it was, as you said, he had it amputated after the war.
Hey man, life's all about the stories.
Linus lived until he was 88 years old. He didn't talk much about the war, but he could never forget the first day on the Somme and the battle at Beaumont Hamel.
So I took off and enlisted, the 1st Newfoundland. I went through for 3 years. I got hit in July, Beaumont Hamel. About 750 charged that morning, and 68 answered the roll call that evening. So we got cut up pretty bad. And I was one of the lucky ones to survive.
In the middle of no man's land are the skeletal remains of the tree Newfoundlanders call the Danger Tree. It marks the furthest point reached by any soldier from the regiment on July the 1st, 1916.
I'll leave us a little something home. From the shores of Newfoundland.
Thanks, James, Linus.
Andy Robertshaw and his team have identified the only real combat footage in the film, The Battle of the Somme. But they haven't managed to put a name to a soldier filmed on that day. The forensics suggested William Holland was this man, but his record said otherwise. War records put William Caseby in this sequence, but the forensics said it wasn't him. With 2 strikes against him, Robertshaw believes he has another chance to identify a soldier filmed on July the 1st, 1916.
Now, the other thing is that the company commander is a man called Dawson.
Archive research suggests this is 27-year-old Captain Edmund McNaughton Dawson of the 1st Lancashire Fusiliers. Captain Dawson was recorded as being part of the first wave of the attack on July the 1st. On that morning, he stood up, gave the order to advance, and was wounded by German machine gun fire. But will the image of the man Robertshaw believes is Dawson match his photographs?
The first thing I'm going to do is line up some features on these people. So I've got the eyes there, and I'm going to make the eyes as horizontal as I can make them.
Oh, I see.
Okay. I can see he's got a rather deep, what's called mentolabial groove here.
Yes.
So this is the groove between the chin and the lip here, and that's quite deep on this man. It's also quite deep on this man. So there's also a rather wide lower jaw here, and that looks as if we've got a fairly wide lower jaw there. You can see the shape, actually, of the so-called pronase in the tip of the nose, and it doesn't differ from this in any substantial way. So already there are quite a lot of features you would say are the same, and nothing which you can actually say is different. And then I'm going to take one feature and draw a line right across to the feature on the other man and see where that goes. So that looks as if between the nose and the eye we've got the same sort of distance. So if, for example, the police were asking me now for advice, if this were at the investigative stage of a process and said, should we investigate this man further, I would say definitely yes. Good. On the basis of this.
Facial recognition has confirmed the military records. Robertshaw has found a hero from the Battle of the Somme, Captain Edmund Dawson. He's arranged a private screening of the footage for Dawson's granddaughter and her family.
My grandfather, as I remember him, was a kindly, bald old man who played the harmonica, had a great sense of humour, was terrific with his grandchildren. My sister, my brother and I, had great games with him. And he told us stories, but not about the war. I never discussed the war with him, as far as I remember.
And in a minute, there he goes, full face.
Oh yeah, gosh.
That's him, looking out at you. Okay.
There's an incredible family likeness.
Do you think there is?
Absolutely amazing. My father at that age, really similar. There's a sort of jaw and mouth.
Unfortunately, 1st of July 1916, they're in the frontline trench. Both Captain Dawson and Sergeant Major Nelson climb out of the trench and are both caught by the same burst of machine gun fire and fall straight back into the trench.
Because they're leading from the front, they're not at the back going, saying, off you go, we'll be along in a minute.
I mean, it's a very distinctive action to stand on the top of a parapet and be encouraging your men out of the parapet. It's literally going to draw fire to you.
So it makes me very, very proud to find out everything I found out today. And there's something very kind of powerful about seeing a family resemblance on the screen. He looks so like my brother, like my father. And I knew when he turned his face around that was him. It was amazing.
What I love about this whole project is the fact that now when I speak to someone, I can say, that man is Captain Dawson. And the other thing we've done is to say, you can stretch the boundary of research. It's hard work. It'll require a lot of disciplines. You can't just sit in your study. You've got to get out there and walk the ground. You've got to speak to experts. You've got to get the people in who can do that kind of forensic work. Take the evidence apart, put it back together again, and say, look, this is the narrative.
Can you give me a hand with that poppy?
Sure. Let me see. I'll have to get one later. Where are you going to fit it on that chest of yours?
Yeah, it's chest like a trout.
There you go. Let me see. How do I look?
Aside from that cheap shirt, you're looking okay. Turn around. Ready? This has always been a personal goal to come to Beaumont Hamel. I really didn't understand much about it, except it was a very significant event for my family and for Newfoundland. But I never comprehended it. I have always regretted I didn't come here before, but I'm glad that I've only come here now, because I don't think I would have truly had a feeling for what happened here until I reached this point in my life and my experiences.
I think particularly for James, the fact that sort of overwhelms me is we don't know where he is. He's somewhere around here, and maybe to be found, maybe never to be found. And so his final resting place is area where, I don't know, millions walk every year.
When I get home, I'll tell my wife about what I saw here today, what I felt here today. And I think she'll understand, because she's heard me talk about my friends, people I've known, and she'll be understand what I'm feeling. To the glory of God and in perpetual remembrance of those officers and men of the Newfoundland forces who gave their lives by land and sea in the Great War, and who have no known graves. Let them give glory unto the Lord, and declare his praise to the islands.
The Battle of the Somme was meant to be over in a day. It lasted for almost 5 months. By its end, in November 1916, the Allies had advanced 6 miles. And more than 1 million men were missing, wounded, or dead on the Somme.